I am so excited to have you here. My name's Jackie Opie, and welcome to the Love Uncensored Summit. And today I have an amazingly beautiful special guest who I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. But remember, our mission is to share love, intimacy, compassion, and sexuality with the world in a beautiful, healthy, and safe way. So if you know somebody who you think would benefit from this interview, I would love you to share this with them. The more people that you and I talk to about love, intimacy, and sexuality, the better off this world is going to be. I mean, how hard would it be to go to war if everybody was having great sex and everyone was happy? We wouldn't need to do it. So play your part in world peace and share this with somebody who you know needs a bit of turn on in their life. So I'm so excited today to introduce you to Helena, and I'm going to have the opportunity to ask her some questions and really explore what she does. But before that, I'm going to read out her bio and then introduce you to this divine goddess. So Helena Nista is one of Australia's leading sexperts and tantra practitioners. She's a mentor, author, speaker, and more importantly, lover. She's a certified sexologist and tantra teacher. She's passionate about helping her clients become the best lovers they possibly can be. She helps them overcome any sexual difficulties and create a great sex life. Her mission in life is to spark a sexual revolution that will break through the shackles of conditioning and limiting beliefs, to empower people to experience sex as natural, healthy, and utterly beautiful. Helena, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because it's not often that I get to meet divine, inspired, beautiful women like yourself who are sharing this divine journey. And I couldn't think of anything else, anything better to have than a sexual solution. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure to have you too. So Helena, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this work and what's your journey been to get you to where you are today?
Well, I had quite a journey, and it all started when I was basically growing up in Poland in an atmosphere of complete sexual suppression. We were all very Catholic, very religious, and as we know, church doesn't really support great sexual experiences. So I grew up with these ideas in my head about sex being this shameful thing, this horrible thing, this sinful thing that we shouldn't even go into or talk about. I grew up thinking that my body was there was something wrong with my body. My genitals were just disgusting and smelly and not nice. And I was terrified of even an idea of being in bed with a man one day naked. So many years later, I started having relationships and started having sex. But because I came from such a place of sexual suppression, I subconsciously was stopping myself from having beautiful sexual experiences. I was actually experiencing a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain, a lot of abuse during sex. And I don't even blame my partners because they didn't know any better either, and they learned from porn or they learned from other sort of unhealthy sources. So we all were trying to work out this sex thing and we weren't really doing it well. I had just no idea why people would like sex and what was so good about it. And now I work with a lot of men and women who have similar experiences, and I can really relate to them because they have never had any proper sexual education, and they're asking themselves the same questions. How do you make sex great, ecstatic, amazing, blissful? How do you create this kind of connection that we all deeply crave and really want, but nobody teaches us how to do it? And because my journey was just so bumpy, I actually I had a huge crisis in my life where I ended up in an emergency room because of sex. So that was something that really made me stop and think, okay, I need to sort this sex thing out. I need to learn how to have amazing sex because I can't risk being in a hospital because of sex.
our listeners are going to have lots of questions around that in terms of how do you end up in the emergency department around sex? What happened? Are you happy to share with us, Helena?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened was I was having sex with my partner. It was in the morning. We woke up early. We were having sex. It was, as usual, very quick, very rushed. Our sex, we barely had any foreplay, so I was never really prepared for sex. My body was barely ever lubricating. And this is why sex was so uncomfortable for me always, because he was basically forcing his erect penis inside of me, and my body wasn't ready. My body was never really open, aroused, and welcoming that penis. So this particular morning, again, we were having sex, and I remember so well we were using the reversed cowgirl position, which is the woman on top, but her back facing her partner's face. So this is a position where quite a deep penetration is possible. So we had sex. He came fairly quickly. Our sex usually lasted about a few minutes. So I got off. He came. I got off. I lied down to relax for a moment, and then I suddenly felt this excruciating pain in my pelvis. It felt like my pelvis was exploding with pain again and again and again, and the pain kept increasing and and deepening. So I figured, okay, this is not going away. I need to do something, and I was really, really scared. Like my first thought was, oh my God, I'm going to die, or I will never be able to have sex again. It was that kind of pain. I've never felt a pain like that. So I called my partner, and he came over, and I said, look, we need to call an ambulance. I am in so much pain. I don't know what's happening. And he was very concerned, but he told me that there was an emergency room 5 minutes away from us, and an ambulance could take like an hour to arrive. And I just thought, how am I supposed to get out of bed and get to the car? I couldn't walk. I couldn't get up. So he left to prepare the car, and I crawled out of bed, and I crawled to my wardrobe, and I put some clothes on, and then I crawled out to the car. And he was really starting to realize that, okay, there's something seriously wrong. So that trip to the emergency room was really, really painful. I kept feeling this pain just intensifying through my entire pelvis. So when we finally arrived there, they took care of me, and it turned out that it was a muscle spasm, that his penis hit a muscle in my bladder, and that muscle went into spasm, and it was so strong that it felt like the entire pelvis was just this, I was in a lot of pain. So they just basically gave me strong muscle relaxants, and they sent me home once I was able to go to the toilet, and the pain was reducing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that trip home back from the emergency room made me really think hard about how can I ever have sex again this way, knowing that it can send me to an emergency room. Mm-hmm. It was a turning point in my life.
I hear this story of a woman's body not being ready for penetration so often, Helena, and I'm sure that in the work that you do, you would hear it a lot. And one of the things that we know as women is our bodies are there to receive this beautiful divine penis, but we have to be ready for it. And it's that tension and that stress that we hold in our body when we're not ready to be penetrated, but yet we're still fucking. It's just our body's going, stop, what are you doing? Wow, I'm sure that you would have learned a lot about yourself in that process. So tell me a little bit about the work that you do, Helena, and a little bit about your clients and what it is that you really help and support them in.
I mainly work with men, but I also work with women and couples. Basically, what I do is I help my clients have great sex. This is really what it comes down to. And in many cases, I actually work with clients who have had very similar experiences to me in terms of that sexual repression, in terms of growing up with a lot of guilt and shame and embarrassment around their bodies, their sexual desires, their genitals. So I help them overcome that and to go deep into that inner potential for pleasure, for bliss, for orgasms, for connection, for intimacy. I train my clients how to go deep inside of their bodies and really listen to what the body wants, how it wants to experience pleasure, how it wants to connect with another person, how to create a union which is beyond the physical union, which includes a union of hearts and energies and souls, and becomes like a spiritual, mystical union together. What we can do, what our bodies can do, is incredible, but nobody teaches us that. And we learn from porn, and porn is purely physical. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying don't use porn. Porn has its place in our society, but when it's your sole source of education around sex, then you're never going to have great sex.
I love that you've brought that up, because right now, when we look at the resources available to men and women around how do we learn to do amazing sex, pornography is, you know, it's what a lot of people are turning to. Like you say, it's only the physical, and people forget that those are actors. They're acting out a script written by somebody's, you know, one person's fantasy. And a lot of the pornography that we're watching doesn't actually show how to prepare a woman's body to receive that. So I'm sure that from pornography, and I know this, that people are ending up in emergency rooms pretty much the way that you did, because of what they're seeing on porn and not understanding what it takes to prepare a woman's body to receive in that way. Helena, so you're also a sexologist, and you've done some other amazing things. What's some of your educational background that you've had that has led you to this point where you are now?
I first started with a Tantra practitioner training. So after the crisis, after my experience in an emergency room, I literally had no idea where to turn and what to do. Like, I had no idea, where do you learn about good sex? Where do you learn what that looks like and how to achieve that? And I remember that word Tantra. And I thought, and I remember that it had something to do with some kind of ecstatic sexual experiences. That's all I knew. So that's what I decided to explore. And that was my first huge love, that Tantra. So I did a practitioner training with the Australian School of Tantra in Byron Bay. And that's when I started coaching and teaching. But it was just the beginning, because I actually studied with teachers from all over the world. I studied with teachers in States, in Europe, all over Australia, in New Zealand. And then once I kind of got to the point where I couldn't really find anything else I could learn about Tantra, I decided, okay, I want to expand my toolkit into sexology. So I became a somatic sex educator, a somatic sexologist, and that has given me extra tools. And so that's my background. Firstly Tantra, and then sexology as well. And I use techniques from Taoist practices, from yogic practices, a lot of breathing, a lot of embodiment counseling techniques as well. I'm also an embodied counselor. So I guess I kind of kept looking for anything that can help me help others connect to their bodies, become more somatic and embodied in their experience of sex and pleasure.
Beautiful. And Helena, some of the work that you do is really around that sexual repression. So can you talk to us a little bit about what it is that you do to really tap into that deeply? How do you discover whether people have sexual repression, and how do you shift that in their energy?
Yeah. First of all, I do a lot of education. So I teach my clients around how sex is actually natural and beautiful and healthy and normal. And just that realization is like a big light bulb moment for many people, because when you grow up thinking there's something wrong with sex, and sex is this part of life that you keep behind closed doors, and it's okay, you can have it, but don't talk about it. If you want to be a person of any sort of respect or authority in our society, you cannot be seen as a sexual person. And that's fucked up, because we are sexual, and sex isn't dirty. It's magical, it's sacred, it's beautiful. Our life comes from sex, and we can use sex in many different ways, not just for reproduction, but for pleasure, for bonding, for creating deeper and deeper connection and intimacy between two people. And that romantic connection that comes with sexual connection, there's few things that are more beautiful than that sexual union with someone you love so deeply. So I start with educating my clients around sex. We go deep into their approach to sex, and any sort of I also explore with them any limiting beliefs they might have around sex, how they learned about about relationships, about sexuality, about their bodies, what lessons they brought from their childhood, from their school, from their society, from their family life, etc. And then we start to go deeply into how these things serve them or don't serve them, and how we can replace them with new beliefs and new practices and new approaches. So I like to be very practical. In my sessions, we don't just talk, we actually do a lot of practices, and I always give homework because I believe that's the best way to actually really bring a new experience into our lives, through practicing it, through experiencing it.
Beautiful. So can you give us an example of some of the homework that you might give somebody to really shift that, the limiting beliefs that they have around sexuality?
Absolutely, yeah. And this is something I love talking about. It's probably one of my most favorite subjects, and that's masturbation. And I feel like you can use masturbation to really shift your entire approach to sex and sexuality and pleasure. So I give a lot of homework when it comes to masturbation, or the way I prefer to call it, which is self-pleasuring. So I send my clients home with different scenarios to follow, and also I really encourage them to keep a very open mind around listen to your body. Don't just follow the steps that you always follow, that you assume you should follow. Don't think that self-pleasuring or masturbation is that one kind of experience where you maybe stroke your breasts if you're a woman a little bit, or just go straight for your genitals, and you basically just stroke your genitals until you achieve that goal or outcome, being orgasm or ejaculation. Self-pleasuring is much more than that. Self-pleasuring is an experience of feeling pleasure in your entire body. And if we treat it as a quick, goal-oriented task, we're never going to get the full advantage out of what our bodies can give us, out of the experiences that our bodies can give us. So I ask my clients to really to remain very embodied in their practice. So if they use porn or fantasy, I ask them to try and reframe that from that, and really listen to the experience of their bodies when they're touching their skin, to really notice what it feels like to touch and to be touched. And when they touch their bodies, to really explore the entire body with curiosity. It's not just genitals that can give us pleasure. The entire body is one big erogenous zone, and we can experience so much by stroking and pleasuring our entire bodies. I like to give this example when I first started doing this practice, and I discovered that if I just lightly stroke or drag my nails just very gently at my stomach, it sends shivers up my spine. It feels amazing. I absolutely love doing that. And we all have different places like that like different kinds of touch. And there's nothing wrong either with touching the genitals. There's so many nerve endings in our genital areas. They're there and for us to use and enjoy. But don't think that your self-pleasuring practice is just rubbing your clitoris or stroking your penis until you come and that's it. No, there's much more there. I also teach different breathing techniques that help to enhance that quality of embodiment and pleasure in the body. I help them create rituals, how to ritualize self-pleasuring so that it becomes much more special and sacred and beautiful, starting with an intention. You can actually have an intention for your self-pleasuring. Maybe it's to last without coming for half an hour for men, or explore the pleasure in your anus. Many people see anus as this dark black hole, like there's shame, there's maybe pain there, maybe let's not go there. It's a valid body part that can also give you a a lot of pleasure. Maybe the intention can be to just touch your entire body with love and compassion, like as if you were touching a body of the most amazing lover in the world. So I really love that if people engage curiosity, exploration, experimentation, a lot of embodiment, a lot of connection to the body. And yet sometimes things might be awkward. Sometimes it won't be the most ecstatic experience, but sometimes it will be amazing. And that's how you learn how to create more and more amazing experiences when self-pleasuring. And the reason why it's important is because self-pleasuring is like a preparation for amazing partner sex. If you can have amazing self-pleasuring sessions, you are going to have amazing partner experiences as well.
Helena, I really value you saying that, because you know, a lot of people that I speak to don't go on this journey of self-pleasure. They masturbate for the purpose of just getting off. And when I say to them, how do you teach a lover to treasure your body, and how do you tell your lover what it is that you really enjoy if you yourself haven't explored your body to the deepest points that you could? It's really hard to teach somebody else how to bring you to pleasure if you don't even know yourself. So that, I love that. And I also love what you're saying about that touch. For me, you know, you're saying it for you, it's your belly. For me, it's actually, it's the inside of my arms. I love that feeling of my nails. And I wouldn't discover that without going through that process of self-pleasure. And it takes time to develop that, to really explore. And I love what you said about rituals. That's the most important part, is we can't do this once and go, okay, well, now I've discovered what turns me on. Things change for us, and being able to really ritualize our self-pleasure and step into the power that comes with knowing and understanding our body is so beautiful. One of the things that you do really well, Helena, is your work around help people get out of their head and into their bodies. And I would imagine that that would be the most beautiful, profound way to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And we are all so stuck in the head. This is a problem that comes up in my sessions so often. And that's actually one of the main things that pulls people away from having ecstatically amazing sexual experiences, or by themselves or with others, that their mind goes somewhere else. And, you know, there's just no way you can have the deepest, most powerful orgasmic experiences if at the same time you're thinking about your to-do list, or planning your weekend, or thinking about that email you need to send. There's no way. Amazing sex requires full immersion in the experience. It requires us to be there 100%, fully present, fully mindful, right here, right now, in my body, in my experience. So I do, so if that's the case, I often ask my clients to perform a body scan, which is a meditative practice where basically you bring conscious awareness to each body part one by one. So what you do is you sit down, relax, take a few breaths to really relax the body, and then you just connect to your fingers, and you just bring your full attention to your fingers, and you just feel what it feels like to have fingers, giving it a few moments to really feel the fingers. And then you move on to the palms of your hands, and you just feel your hands, what it feels like to have hands. And then after a moment, you move on again to your wrists, to your arms, to your upper arms, to your feet, to your legs, pelvis, stomach, chest, back, face, etc. So, but giving a few moments to each body part, just breathing and just feeling, and being 100% with that body part. Allowing yourself to become fascinated with, oh my God, I have fingers. What does it feel like to have fingers? And what will happen is you will start to experience and feel tingles and sensations and energy shifting and blood flowing through your veins. And you will discover that there is already pleasure and sensations and aliveness, sense of aliveness in your entire body. So that if this practice is done even for 5 minutes every day, it will bring more connection with the body. It will make it easier to get out of the head and drop much more deeply into the body. And this particularly should be performed before self-pleasuring or before a partnered sex, because it will really help you become much more embodied and connected. Because when you really drop in and you feel like your whole body is pulsating with aliveness and pleasure, and just to sit here and to feel that feels blissful, then how much more blissful it will feel once somebody starts to touch you and caress you and you start to touch them. So embodiment is huge for having great sex.
I love that, especially when I hear women talking about, because men are really great at that singular one purpose focus. They do it a lot better than women. And I have so many women going, oh my gosh, I was making love, things were going great, and then all of a sudden the shopping list popped into my mind and the to-do list came up, and it's like, oh gosh, I've forgotten to do that. It's like, it's the best time to think about your to-do list is while you're making love. So being able to really step into our bodies and fully experience that, it's a gift. It's a gift that we give ourselves.
Absolutely. And everybody can do it. We all have these capacities, this capacity within ourselves to feel ecstatic pleasure and mind-blowing orgasms. It's not that some people are wired differently or have different kind of body type and he can have or she can have great sex, but I can't. No, it's simply that wiring, our internal wiring is flexible. It will change. But if you are always disembodied, if you're always in your head, if you kind of live your existence from your neck up, which majority of people in our society do, then you literally wire your nervous system to be in your head. And that's sad, but that's what we do. We wake up and first thing in the morning we put the TV on to watch the news, and then we drive to work and we sit in front of a computer screen for 8 hours. We are stuck in the head. We're working, making phone calls, we're planning, making decisions, whatever it is we're doing, and then we get back home and put the TV back on. And so we're stuck in the head the entire day, and we are constantly wiring our system to bring awareness into the head, not into the body. And that is not great for amazing sexual experiences, but it's completely reversible. And that's why doing at least a body scan, there's a lot of different practices that can help to create more embodiment and more presence in the body. But even using such a simple practice as a body scan daily brings more awareness to the body. Another amazing thing which I like to do is actually stop whatever I'm doing every hour or so and take 3 deep breaths and just notice, what am I feeling in my body right now? What am I noticing? Oh, there's a bit of a tension in my shoulders. Okay, I can relax that. I can feel my heartbeat. That feels amazing. I can feel that cool breeze on my face. I can feel, just a wave of shivers going down my legs. I can feel the pressure of the chair under my buttocks and my legs. And when I start to describe that, people go, whoa, can you feel all that? And because in many cases, when I ask them, what can you feel? And they're like, headache. And that's it. I promise you, if you start practicing regularly, connecting to your body and just asking this question, what am I feeling right now? Okay, this is what I'm feeling, connecting to my senses. The awareness of your body will start to grow and deeper, and you will and deepen, and you will feel more and more and more, to the point of feeling your heartbeat, to the point of feeling the blood pumping through your veins, to the point of really noticing if there is any sort of tension held in your body, and you'll be able to just let that go and experience the bliss of being embodied.
Helena, I love that, and really being able to tap into the divinity and the energy that we bring, because I can feel that. I feel it in my fingertips, I feel it in my toes, I feel it at the base of my feet, I feel it in my face, that tingling feeling that when I really am connected in with myself, it's like you feel the energy and, like you said, the blood flowing through your veins. It's pretty intense. And then we do this amazing thing by adding the self-pleasure or having a relationship and making love with somebody else. It's like our bodies are already turned on. We're not reliant on somebody else switching us on. Helena, I'd love you to share. Now, I know that earlier this year you wrote a book called Legendary Lover, 6 Essential Steps to Having Great Sex. I'd love you to share with us what was the inspiration for the book and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. Well, my book is my baby. This is what it looks like. I'm really, really proud of it.
Can you show us again? That was very quick.
Oh, sorry. Yes. So this is Legendary Lover.
Beautiful.
6 Essential Steps to Having Great Sex. And so the inspiration was really my own journey. When I still was very shut down sexually and very repressed in my sexuality, I thought that I was the only person in the world, the only sad weirdo who didn't enjoy sex. When you watch movies, whenever there's a sex scene, it's wow, it's amazing, and it always looks like they're having amazing time and feeling this ecstatic pleasure. They always orgasm together, and it's like, whoa, you think everybody else has sex like that, and so you're the one who is broken. And that's how I felt. I felt broken for many years. And when I started going deeper into Tantra and connecting with other people who were on the same path, I learned that, whoa, so many people are frustrated sexually. Then I started coaching and working with clients, and it turned out that pretty much it's hard to find somebody who is happy and satisfied with their sex lives. We all have struggles and issues. And so when I started my path of sexual healing, sexual awakening, my education, my tantric path, my sexological path, it pretty much took about just over almost 2 years for me to really fully get to the point of being fully embodied, having multi-orgasmic experiences, enjoying sex tremendously, being able to feel so much pleasure in my body I didn't think was ever possible. So I figured, if so many people struggle sexually, then my journey might be inspiring for others. So what I did, I actually wrote a book about those 2 years and everything that I experienced during those 2 years, what I learned. And I sort of wove that story into the methodology I use with my clients, the LEGEND methodology. LEGEND is an acronym for the 6 steps to having great sex. And so I sort of take the client through each step, describing each step and giving examples from my life and from some of my experiences with clients. And I also always give practices, very practical steps. So if somebody wants to follow on the same path, they can do that in order to create an experience of sex as beautiful, amazing, healthy, natural, and ecstatic. So that's what the book is, my methodology, with a lot of examples from my life. And it was quite challenging to put this much detail from my own sex life into the book, because I realized that nobody really knows this much about me and my sexual experiences. And then suddenly I'm putting all of that to the world. And I've pretty much every person that reads the books comes back to me saying how courageous it was and how honest the book is and how much I've put into it. But it feels like I put my heart and soul into the book in order to give others permission to talk about their own sex lives. I just want to make sex normal. It's a beautiful aspect of being a human being. And we need to really take it into the world. And so by speaking so frankly and honestly about my journey and my sexual experiences, I really want to inspire everybody to embrace their own sexual journey, to look at their own sexual experiences, to learn from my mistakes and to learn to use the practices that really worked for me in order for them also to give themselves the gift of a great sex.
That is beautiful. So Helena, for anybody who wants to get their hands on the book, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can order it from my website, helenanista.com.au. It's also available on Amazon and Google Books and I think a few other places online. But probably Amazon and my website are the easiest way. It's available in a paperback and as an ebook and also as a Kindle version on Amazon.
Beautiful. And I will put a link, so check out the links attached here, because everything that Helena does is available in this email as well. So Helena, I just want to thank you so much for your passion and your compassion and your ability to really open up and share your story with the world to make sure that we have the sexual revolution that we so desperately need right now.
Thank you so much for having me and for allowing me to share my vision with your listeners. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. It is such an honor to have you here. Once again, please share this information with as many people as you can. The Love Uncensored Summit is not a secret. We're trying to get as many people on board in terms of understanding that love, intimacy, and connection is a way for us to heal ourselves, heal the people around us, and heal this planet. Thank you for being here. I'll see you on our next interview.